There is a particular kind of silence that settles over a conference room when someone says something no one in the room was prepared for, and Marisol Vega would remember that silence for the rest of her life, because it arrived exactly 4 minutes before she was offered the best job of her career. But the story did not begin in that conference room. It began 5 months earlier at a bus stop on the corner of Delmar and 9th, where her son Eli, age 8, waited every afternoon for the 3:40 route with a lunchbox shaped like a fire truck, and a habit his mother did not know about. Eli was the kind of child teachers described in the careful language of parent-teacher conferences as quiet but observant. A boy who noticed things adults walked past, who asked questions about the pigeons and the cracks in the sidewalk, and, eventually, about the man who sat every day on the same overturned milk crate outside the shuttered dry cleaners, wrapped in 2 coats regardless of the weather, with a coffee cup in front of him that rarely had more than a few coins in it. The man's name, Eli learned after the 2nd week of saying hello, was Desmond. Desmond did not ask Eli for anything. He did not perform gratitude or hardship the way some people learn to when survival depends on being noticed. He mostly just nodded when Eli sat nearby and answered when Eli asked him things, and one Tuesday in October, when Eli's lunchbox still had an unopened bag of baby carrots and half a turkey sandwich in it because school lunch had run late and recess had run short, Eli held it out and said, "You can have this. I'm not that hungry." Desmond looked at the boy for a long moment before he took it. He said, "You don't have to do that, you know." Eli said, "I know. I want to." It became a routine so ordinary that Eli stopped thinking of it as a decision. Some days it was a sandwich. Some days just an orange or crackers, or the granola bar his mother packed as insurance against Eli's unpredictable appetite. He never told his mother, not out of secrecy exactly, but because in the logic of an 8-year-old, some things simply did not seem like information. They were just what happened between 3:40 and 3:55, the way the bus was always 5 minutes late and the crosswalk light always took forever. What Eli did not know, because 8-year-olds are not generally briefed on their parents' financial circumstances, was that his mother Marisol had spent the autumn in a slow, quiet freefall. She had been a supply chain coordinator for a regional distribution company for 9 years before the company was acquired, and her entire department was absorbed into a system that, as it turned out, did not need her particular set of skills, or her particular self, at all. She had been searching for 4 months. She had gone through the stages that job searches put people through. The optimism, the confusion, the anger, the flattening, and had landed, by November, in the stage where you simply apply and wait and try not to calculate the exact week your savings run out, because doing that math too often makes it hard to get out of bed. She had an interview in late November with a company called Halvorson Logistics Group for a position that would have been 6 months earlier, a lateral move rather than the lifeline it had since become. The interview was set for a Thursday at 10 in the morning. Marisol arrived 20 minutes early, in the one blazer she owned that still fit the way she wanted it to, and she was led into a conference room where 2 people were waiting, an HR director named Priya Nandakumar, and, seated slightly apart from her with the unhurried posture of someone who did not need to justify his presence, the company's founder and CEO, a man named Desmond Okafor. Marisol did not recognize him at first. Men in tailored suits, freshly shaved, sitting behind a mahogany table under fluorescent light, do not resemble men wrapped in 2 coats on an overturned milk crate. And it is a testament to how completely people stopped truly seeing the homeless that even a face she had, in fact, glimpsed before, dropping Eli off once, waving at him from the car, did not register. It was 40 minutes into the interview, after the standard questions had been asked and answered competently, that Desmond set down the folder in front of him and said, "Mrs. Vega, before we go further, I need to ask you something a little unusual." Priya glanced at him, clearly not expecting this either. "Do you have a son?" Desmond asked, named Eli. "Fire truck lunchbox. Bus stop on Delmar and 9th? Marisol felt the floor of the conversation shift beneath her. She said, carefully, yes. Why? Desmond exhaled slowly. The exhale of a man about to say something he had rehearsed and still found difficult. 4 months ago, I was not the man sitting across this table from you. I want to be honest about that, because I think you deserve honesty more than you deserve a polished story. I built this company from nothing over 11 years, and last spring I made a catastrophic personal decision. I won't detail it. It isn't relevant except to say it cost me my marriage, very nearly my company, and for a period of about 10 weeks, my housing. I told almost no one. I let the company believe I was on a sabbatical. And for those 10 weeks, I spent most afternoons on a milk crate outside a dry cleaner's on Delmar Street, because I did not know what else to do with a version of myself I did not recognize. He looked at Marisol directly. Your son sat with me almost every day. He gave me part of his lunch without ever once asking why I needed it. He talked to me about pigeons and cracks in the sidewalk and whether the bus was going to be late, as if I were simply a person, which by that point in my life I had stopped fully believing I still was. I have thought about that boy nearly every day since I put my life back together. I never learned his full name. I never learned yours. Until 3 weeks ago, when your resume came across my desk for this position, and I saw the address on file, and something about it wouldn't leave me alone. Marisol's hands, folded in her lap, had gone very still. I asked Priya to let me sit in on this interview, Desmond continued, not to offer you a job out of some sense of debt, though I won't pretend that isn't part of what brought me here, but because I wanted, selfishly, to see your face when I told you what your son did for a stranger on a milk crate, without ever knowing that stranger's name mattered to anyone but himself. Priya, recovering her composure, added quietly, for what it's worth, Mrs. Vega, your background already made you our strongest candidate before any of this came up. Desmond can confirm that. This isn't a favor. It's a very good hire. Marisol found she could not speak for several seconds. When she finally did, her voice came out smaller than she intended. He never said anything. 4 months, and he never once mentioned a man at the bus stop. Desmond said, I don't think it occurred to him that it was worth mentioning. That's rather the point of what made it matter. She was offered the position before she left the building, a step Priya later admitted was almost unheard of in the company's hiring process. But Desmond had simply said there was no reason to make her wait on something he already knew. That evening, Marisol picked Eli up herself instead of sending him home with the neighbor, and the two of them sat on the front steps of their apartment building while she asked him, as gently as she could manage, about a man named Desmond at the bus stop. Eli considered the question the way children consider questions that assume their ordinary choices require justification. He said, he always looked cold. And hungry. You always said don't waste your lunch, so I didn't. Marisol pulled her son against her side and stayed like that for a long while, because there was nothing she could think to add that would improve on what an 8-year-old had already, without meaning to, explained perfectly. Desmond Okafor kept the company running for another decade, and in that time, without ever making an announcement of it, he began funding a small transitional shelter 3 blocks from the corner of Delmar and 9th, one with no plaque bearing his name, because he had come to believe that the only kindness worth repeating was the kind that never asked to be recognized in the first place, the kind an 8-year-old boy had once handed him, without a second thought, on an ordinary Tuesday. Expecting nothing at all in return,